Looks like the race is getting started, and we see Wolfie going with a non-standard sprite, the Super Bunny, and already we see a route divergence with Freddeh heading to the Sanctuary, getting the Cane of Burna, and Wolfie going to Link's house right away.
Wolfie's doing one of my personal favorites, the Uncle route, where you just make a mad dash for the Uncle and try and get a tree pole and maybe some bomb drops along the way.
Freddeh looking like he's heading to the Grove to pick up some bombs. Not a bad idea. It's always good to get a lot of bombs early on, especially in open mode when a sword is never guaranteed. Bombs could be your main source of attack for quite a while.
Yeah, they're especially important even if you, say, get into Hera with nothing to trigger switches but bombs. Looks like we found both canes already.
Hopefully this isn't a sign of things to come, that the seed will cripple them both.
Looks like they're both now heading to Kakariko. We'll probably get some sort of a high five pretty soon.
Looked like we had a map check, Hera and Eastern being the red and blue pendants, and I believe Desert was a crystal.
Nothing good in the library.
As we see Wolfie killing a green guard with a bush in order to enable him to get a tree pull.
Personally, I like using the sign here to kill that dancing pickle, but he's probably going to use it to buffer the next tree pull as well. Ooh.
Red rupees from the bush crab. That'll give him a nice amount of money early on. Pay for his expenses for the bottle vendor, and if he needs to buy some bombs.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to have trouble with money in this seed.
We see nothing useful at the Lumberjack Cave, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Aghanim isn't required.
Wolfie is using this time to stock up on some extra rupees, probably trying to get at least 500 or 600 so he doesn't have to worry if he wants to go to Zora soon.
And that's not a bad idea. With the bush crab dropping so many rupees, you could easily farm quite a lot of rupees in a short period of time.
Definitely. Meanwhile, Fred is farming bombs in the bomb hut in Kakariko, which is something I don't see that often these days.
If you're trying to conserve money, it is more efficient than buying 10 for 50 from the shop.
Little does he know that this is a very easy seed to get money in.
We aren't seeing anything super useful in Kakariko so far, although Freddie's picking up some money, and there we have our first sword. So that's useful.
Yeah, people who are fans of Swordless are going to be sorely disappointed by this seed. Wolfie didn't actually get any bomb drops, so he's going to have to take a long trip through Kakariko.
Yes, and that's why he went to the bottle vendor first. On the off chance that he had 3 bombs, it would be more expensive, but it also gets that item check out of the way, and he doesn't have to backtrack as far.
Another good option, I think, is checking the tavern as well.
Although with those flippers in Blind's hut, we wonder, is this going to be an early Zora seed?
I'd assume so. Wolfie's about to get his 300 rupee drop once he gets into the Kakariko well.
If it is an early Zora seed, then What better seed to do it on than one with such large amounts of money early on?
That's true, although the randomization logic doesn't take into account the amount of rupees available early on when assigning whether or not Zora is going to be important, but it does typically lead the player to Zora if you have, say, Flippers or Moon Pearl early and a lot of rupees.
And Wulfy has over 600, so he's definitely not going to be struggling for coming up with the cash for Zora. We'll see if he makes that play within the next 5 or 10 minutes.
I would be very surprised if Wulfy doesn't make his way to Zora around when he's about to do the South Hyrule loop around the lake.
I agree. It definitely is far more efficient to, when you're already there, just hop into the water, especially with the flippers. Don't even need to fake flipper. Go up to Hobo, check the Lake Hylia item, then circle down and check Zora's domain.
That does make me wonder if either of these players are gonna neglect the Ice Rod Cave, because that cave can be a pretty big problem for a lot of runners if there's something good there.
Yeah, it's the thought process is it's so out of the way, it's only one item, take a gamble. Of course, if this seed will have its way, it'll be the one gamble that these runners will regret. Early Bombos at the dam. That's an interesting find.
Yeah, with that magic meter and Bombos and a sword, I'm wondering if Fred is gonna bother using it to clear up Moldorm Cave.
Also can be used in Ice Palace, which may seem far away, but with the flippers, that is part of the logic there. And we find the hammer from in the drain. The dam is being super useful today.
Early Hammer is always really nice, even though it doesn't really open up anything just yet. It kind of requires other items to be truly useful.
Although you have to imagine that these runners are thinking, okay, I've got the hammer, I've got the flippers, I've got a sword, lots of possible things I could do. If I just had one more item, what's the next item going to be, and where's it going to lead me? If they get the cape, that could lead them to Aghanim. If they get the gloves, they could do Lampless Death Mountain, or the mirror.
At this point, I'm just hoping for powder. And we get a Fire Rod pickup in the Light World Hype Cave, aka the Mini Moldorm Cave. Yet another way to get into Ice Palace, though I hope neither of these players are thinking about Ice Palace at this point.
You mentioned the powder, but I think it would be more interesting if we had a mushroom with the new glitch to do the powderless magic bat if you have the mushroom. And they do have the Cane of Samaria also. So with the hammer, they might, if they do happen to get the mushroom, it'd be interesting to see if either of them decide to sequence break to get the magic bat.
Nothing good at Hobo, though there's still a lot to check at Zora, or on the way to Zora at least.
We see a little bit of a route divergence, Wulfy heading up to Ice Rod Cave, however, I believe Freddeh just jumped right into the Lake Hylia to check the hobo.
Yeah, I assume Fred is gonna bother going directly to Zora, which looks like he is, but I don't disagree with either of these plays. I personally don't ever want to skip an item that I can get and I'm in the vicinity of, but I can understand the frustration of spending the, I don't know, 30 seconds, minute it takes to get to Ice Rod Cave and then having nothing there.
Unfortunately, however, with that bow in Ice Rod Cave, that could put Freddeh quite behind if he chooses to put off Ice Rod Cave for a while. That early bow means an Eastern gamble is looking a lot more enjoyable. Plus, of course, it's a nice weapon to have early on.
Yeah, in this version, I don't really think any pendant dungeon is a gamble per se. Like, it's more often than not, you're going to have to go into a pendant dungeon in these version 26 seeds. So getting the bow is actually pretty huge here, I think. And I think it's going to lead Wolfie directly to Eastern Wall. Depending on Freddie's luck, he might find something like, say, the Moon Pearl and Glove, and then not get the bow for a long time.
Yeah, and it looks like pretty much all of Zora's domain, just getting the red boomerang from Zora himself, looks like that was all a red herring.
That is interesting that that finding the flippers early kind of messed with Freddie's routing. Because I would assume that he would have probably have gone to the Ice Rod Cave had had he not found the flippers early on.
And now he's heading up to Eastern, he's doing Sahasrahla. He'll probably do the Eastern gamble without the bow. And then, if Armos Knights or pedestals required, he might have to double dip that dungeon, as Wolfie will only have to enter it once to full clear it, assuming he can do lampless strats.
That is true. Also, Fred just found Moon Pearl, which, again, is making me a little bit worried for him. If he finds any other way to get to the Dark World, he might take that instead of ever going back to Ice Rod Cave.
I don't believe these runners have many other options but Eastern at this point. So it looks like Eastern is guaranteed. I'd have to say probably a glove upgrade at this point, although a cape could be in there, although it'd have to be a cape and a lamp for the logic.
Yeah, that is one benefit. They don't have the lamp, so the logic can't really require them to come here at this point, or at least to get the boss item and the vanilla big key chest. So if there's something good in Eastern, at this point, for like the typical progress, more likely than not, it's not going to be after the big chest. The only real problem would be if there's something good at Armos, or if there's something at the pedestal.
Yes, although we can't overlook the fact that they also have the escape to go through. That's 3 more chests, 3 more possible items.
I am kind of surprised to see Wolfie going towards escape at this point.
It is an interesting... Sorry,
when having the bow to easily clear out Eastern.
Yeah, it is an interesting decision, although I can kind of see his logic, because he does have the bow, but it's useless according to the logic without the lamp.
That's true, but according to the logic, there are still 2 to 3 spots that he could get to at this point. Well, technically, I guess 1 to 3, if you're particularly unlucky.
And speaking of, there's the Power Gloves in Eastern Palace. Freddeh now has Dark World access via several portals. The one south of Eastern, the one south of Link's house. If he's doing Lampless, he could even go to Dark Death Mountain. And of course, we can't forget the Village of Outcasts portal. That's a lot of Dark World access open to him. So yeah, as you mentioned, it could be a while before he gets that bow.
Wolfie trying to access Zelda's chest without the big key, even though he killed the guard. But yeah, if I were in Freddie's shoes right now, I'd be thinking the seed is leading me directly towards the Dark World, and the Ice Rod Cave is now like way outside of the back of my mind.
Yeah, more progression is the backside of Escape too, without the lamp. The gloves put it in the logic.
Ooh, an ether too in Eastern Palace. We'll see if that's required at some point.
A sequence break with the lamp is always an interesting thing to find, because the randomizer assumes that no runner can do darkroom strats. However, as we clearly saw, Freddeh can easily do at least the Eastern Palace darkroom strats. So if the lamp is far behind, it could be a huge sequence break, depending on how buried the lamp is.
Fred also took quite the gamble in not checking Eastern before delving directly, or not Eastern, Escape before delving directly into the Dark World.
If you have some breadcrumbs, might as well follow them. That might be what he's thinking.
That's all of the medallions. So Fred is pretty much go for entering Mire and Turtle Rock now, at least the main entrance. Depending on what Wolfie does here in Eastern Palace, he might also be close to medallion go mode.
Having all the medallions is always a nice thing to have, as we also saw on Freddie's side a Dark World map check, Thieves Town being the green pendant, and crystal number 5 was Skullwoods. I didn't catch 6. Thieves Town pendant is always one of those choices in which you never want it, because Thieves Town is a very easy and simple dungeon to get through. However, it can take a while, especially, and if it has nothing in it, then you've wasted quite a lot of time. However, the green pendant only increases the probability of it having something good, so it's something that these runners might have to think twice about before deciding whether or not to enter.
I wouldn't be surprised if both of these runners go through Thieves Town at this point. There's so many items that are still missing that are pretty much required.
Oh, definitely. And with the hammer early on, that means that they can get the big chest too, which is another common worry when you get to Thieves Town pretty early.
I'm hoping to see something good at Catfish here for Fred, because Wolfie does have that leg up with the bow check, and having something good at Catfish could give Fred the advantage he needs, I think, to get back into this.
Yeah, Catfish is another often overlooked or delayed location that runners check.
Looks like Mike the V says Palace of Darkness is Crystal 5, where I guess Swamp Palace, or Skull Woods is Crystal 6.
Unfortunately for Freddeh, nothing useful at Catfish. However, he is going to check the backside of Escape right now, which is something that Wolfie has not yet done.
Wolfie getting his ether, and looks like he's gonna just finish off Eastern at this point. I wasn't actually counting items in Eastern. I don't know if Armos has an item at this point. Fred is also kind of lucky in the fact that he can backtrack through the dark rooms here and get to the item that's basically halfway between the throne room and that 3 chest room.
Yeah, it's another often overlooked item. If you do the front end and then you do the back end, you've got this item sandwiched in the middle if you don't get the key early on, or if you just are uncomfortable with the lampless strategy. So it's good to see that Freddie's able to get this out of the way right away.
Looks like Freddeh has no problems with these dark rooms. Oh, and even with the ooh, getting the ice rod for his troubles as well. That's gonna come in handy.
It's very interesting. All three medallions, both rods, Samaria, super early on, just Titan's mitts, and then they can enter Turtle Rock already.
I'm going to assume that Wolfie didn't bother didn't bother going to that dark room before, mainly because he didn't find the key yet. And he was banking on either the key being in those 3 chests at the end, or the key being in that chest. But I am wondering when Wolfie's going to make his way to the backside of Escape.
It is always gamble, because if you go from the front end and gamble that the key's in that chest and it's not, well then you've just wasted some time, and then you have to backtrack, and then you can't get the 3 at the back anyway. However, if you go from the back and you do get the key, or even if you don't get the small key and you get the map, or don't get the map, then you can just item count and think, okay, I don't have the small key, but I have every other item. Small key must be in the dark room. I don't need to get it. Looks like Freddy's heading for Skull Woods. Fire Rod, Blue Tunic. Even with the Fighter Sword, he's got plenty of health too with 9 hearts. This shouldn't prove too much of a problem with him, and it is, of course, Crystal 5 or 6, making it part of the Fat Fairy combo.
So something else I just noticed, Freddeh doesn't have the red cane, which means he didn't check Uncle. However, Freddeh already went through Escape, or at least some of it. So I'm wondering if he's going to forget about that.
Yeah, that is something to point out. I don't believe he did the front end of Escape, however, Hyrule Castle. He went through the back end and checked the dark room, so perhaps he'll check the Uncle when he checks the back end, or the front end of Hyrule Castle. However, it is an interesting gamble to skip Uncle, because it is one of the free item locations, that and the chest below it, that you can check without any items. So it often does have important or useful items to find.
Yeah, at this point he might just be going where the seat is telling him to go, and I just hope he doesn't forget about it.
Interesting how he's leaving Skull Woods despite being able to finish it. Perhaps he's not comfortable with a Fighter Sword Mothula, which I don't really blame him. It's a very difficult boss fight.
Yeah, I think Fighter Sword Mothula, keeping Mothula for later, for once you get either a Master Sword or above, I don't think that's a bad idea.
Especially with how little magic he has.
Yeah, if he had half magic, I would definitely go to Mothula, but at this point, I think just checking Skull Woods and then leaving it for another time is definitely a good play.
Now, with Pod being a crystal and Wulfy having the bow, it'll be interesting to see how quickly Wulfy decides to gamble Palace of Darkness. Now, he doesn't have the lamp, however, if he's able to do the lamp, the strategies, that could give him an edge over Freddeh, who doesn't yet have the bow.
Well, you can clear Palace of Darkness right now, so I think you could do that.
Yeah, he definitely can, although the logic says otherwise.
Oh yeah, right. He doesn't have the lamp. That's something I always forget about when entering Palace of Darkness. That there are dark rooms. It's a palace, literally named after darkness.
Freddie entering Thieves Town, which I definitely think is a good idea, and he finds the flute, already paying off after just one chest. And of course, it is the green pendant, so he might find something useful in here.
Yep, 4 items plus the 5th from Sahasrara. I think that's kind of a no-brainer at this point, when there's so many items that are still on the board. Looks like Wolfie's having a little bit of trouble with this dark room, but he finally gets his ice rod.
Yeah, it's not an easy dark room. The enemies don't do a lot of damage, but finding that one chest with nothing really to guide you can be difficult.
Now I'm wondering if Freddie's gonna bother doing the entire dungeon, or just leave after getting these first 4 chests. I assume he's probably gonna finish it.
Yeah, I mean, look at the payoff. He's got the lamp, and he got the flute, 2 very nice items to have already.
So what items are still on the board that are crucial? We need the hook shots and the mirror, and that might be it, honestly.
And of course our sword upgrades. But you do make a fair point. This is looking like a very fast go mode jet seed. And of course the Titan's mitts. They're always required.
Yes. Yeah, Mike the V brings up a point. Something good could be on the pedestal and make this seed into a nightmare, especially if the book isn't anywhere before you can, I guess, get access to the pedestal.
And speaking of things to find in Thieves Town, Freddie just found the silver arrows. Now, they aren't technically required, however, if they have to face Ganon with the Master Sword, they'll definitely want those under their belt.
Yeah, this is turning out to be quite the stacked dungeon. like pendant dungeons often have something useful in them in this version. In previous versions, it would always feel like a pretty big gamble to enter something like this, but the proof is in the pudding in this case.
Definitely. It'll be interesting to see if Wulfy decides to finish Skull Woods or abandon it and wait for a better offensive weaponry like Freddie did.
I think he'll go to finish it, even with a fighter sword.
Well, he is heading over here, although he might just be checking the item over here, which he can check a lot easier with the Cane of Samaria that Freddie has yet to get. Looks like he's heading just for the big chest, as Freddie is about to enter his blind fight.
I'm a bit worried now. There could easily be something good at Mothula, or the chest before Mothula.
She could be hiding a sword upgrade just to troll our runners. Freddie taking quite a bit of damage on the blind fight. Let's hope he doesn't die.
Oh, taking it out, no problem.
Now, I haven't seen every item, but it looks like both items in the back end of Skull Woods are items. Both Mothula and the chest dropping items. And it looks like Wulfy is going to go back there.
Yeah, I don't think this is a bad idea at all.
And they do have the blue mail, so that will make them take a little bit less damage.
Freddeh is now... looks like he's making his way back to Skull Woods.
Again, that's also a pretty decent idea. They do have the hammer too, which does tempered sword damage. Harder to hit with Mothula, but it can still pack a punch. And with Freddeh having full magic and health, after just killing blind, it'll be a lot easier than coming in with practically no magic.
Yeah, from Freddie's perspective, he doesn't have really anywhere else to go in terms of dungeons. He could try Palace of Darkness, but without the bow, he's not going to be able to get far. Wulfy, on the other hand, can go to Palace of Darkness anytime he wants.
I would not be surprised if he booked it straight for Palace of Darkness once he does Thieves Town and gets that lamp and the flute.
I'm not even convinced that Wulfy's gonna even enter Thieves Town at this point.
He might not, and that would prove costly to him, as Meyer is a crystal, so that flute is required. You can get through the game without a lamp, but flute, only way to get to Misery Mire.
Looks like Freddie's using a wall master to get back to the dungeon entrance there.
It can be quick if you don't want to Death Warp and you don't have the mirror. Wulfy trying the B strats on Mothula. Whatever works, I suppose.
Surprised the bee left already. It probably was colliding with like the other spikes in the room, and that exhausted it.
A very nice Mothula fight from Wulfy's side, although Mothula only dropped the compass. It looks like the second item is in the chest. Now Freddeh has the option of using the lamp to conserve more magic, so that he has more for the Mothula fight to use the Fire Rod. Wulfy didn't have that option as he only had the Fire Rod and did not have the lamp, so Freddeh might have an easier time with Mothula.
Yeah, I definitely think that's some good play, some quick thinking on Freddie's part. We'll see if it if it pays off or if he's gonna have trouble still. You have just enough magic to kill Mothula if you get every single hit with the Fire Rod. But it looks like he's going with Hammer strats, which, again, aren't a bad idea, because Hammer does tempered sword damage, so that's just 4 hits.
It is a lot more difficult, however, because the hammer has a much smaller hitbox than the sword, and not nearly the range of the Fire Rod. But Freddeh still makes quick work of Mothula.
I'm not sure I agree with this routing by Wulfy by running out of, or really walking out of Skull Woods. It might have been faster to just save and quit and then start back at Sanctuary.
Well, probably not, because they'll still have to go all the way around into the Dark World portal because they don't have the Titan's Mitts and no flute. Yeah, on Wulfy's side.
So Wulfy is clearing out the village of outcasts, but the big question is whether or not he's going to enter Thieves Town, which, as we know, is stacked.
It looks like if I had guessed that Freddeh might be heading for Death Mountain. With that lamp and the gloves, he might be thinking that's his only option. As he doesn't have the bow, he doesn't realize how lucrative Pod might be. No, he's going to activate his lamp, or flute.
Yeah, that's a good idea to do right away. And Wolfie is going to the chess game, but I still want to know what he's doing after that.
Yeah, it will be interesting if we get something at the pedestal, because even something like the Titan's Mitts could be at the pedestal. Wulfy has one pendant, Freddeh has another, and the third's at Hera, which they just are a mirror or hookshot away from obtaining.
So Wolfie did enter Thieves Town. I just hope he decides to go the entire distance.
Apparently our runners picked up a bottle somewhere, and Freddie's going to check Sick Kid with a Master Sword.
That's good. He would have probably liked that a few minutes earlier, but still.
That sword upgrade is all they need, technically, to kill Ganon, especially with the silvers. That'll definitely make it a lot easier. Although, again, with Freddeh not having the bow, it's not what items you find first, it's what items you find last. And the more items that Freddeh gets, the more options he has available. So if he gets the remaining 3 items relatively quickly, that opens up a massive amount of the world. And so at that point, it's just a scavenger hunt, finding a needle in a haystack for that one location with the bow.
That is true. I just hope that since he has the flute now, he decides to check that spot at some point soon.
If I had to guess, he'll probably check it when he decides to do Ice Palace. Although if the Titan's Mitts are locked behind the bow, then that might be another story altogether.
So Wolfie is finishing up Thieves Town, which is definitely a good idea.
That'll give him the silvers, allowing him to kill Ganon easily once we get to that. Plus, of course, silvers plus bow, which he's able to make use of the silver arrows, means he's going to have a very powerful weapon for bosses and enemies.
Yep, Helmosaur will be a breeze, so Vitreous, and really Ganon. I do wonder still what that green pendant is hiding at Sahasrara, and what is on the pedestal. Since nobody has found a book at this point, that's especially intriguing.
Although we saw the mirror at Spike Cave from Freddeh, just barely making it through with 1 heart and very little magic left, so that could be huge for Freddeh. Spike Cave is often an overlooked location in the game, especially without half magic or many bottles or many hearts, so that could put Freddeh back into this, giving him an edge over Wulfy, like Wulfy's edge over him. Plus, of course, now we can do Hera. And no, the Spike Cave is not a sequence break. Spike Cave logic requires them to be able to take no damage, so in additionally to the gloves and the Moon Pearl and the hammer, they also need to have the cape or the Cane of Burna and either a bottle or half magic.
Yeah, that mirror pull was really good, and it's going to lead Freddeh through Tower of Hera and then directly to Eseth Mountain.
Although Shovel, giving us a fetch quest in Tower of Hera. Although if Wulfy does make this play, it will make me wonder, is he going to do that early pedestal pull? If he makes his way up to Death Mountain early and gets that mirror and then does Hera, Hera's a pretty fast dungeon, so with 2 of the 3 pendant dungeons already done, I think that he would kill Moldorm and hope for that blind pedestal RNG pull.
That'll be interesting if that happens. I am wondering when Wulfy is going to bother checking Spike Cave. can go to and complete Spike Cave at this point, but I don't think he has much reason to visit Death Mountain at this point.
Now, especially with Palace of Darkness open to him, I have a feeling he'll do Palace of Darkness and try to put off Death Mountain until he at least has the hookshot or the mirror or the Titans. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't know where the mirror is, and if the Titans mitts or the hookshot are locked behind the mirror, that could prove very detrimental for Wulfy.
Wulfy is now going to activate his flute, but I just wonder where he's gonna have the bird take him.
I also wonder if Freddeh gets the second item, is he going to kill Moldorm? Now, he doesn't have as much incentive to check the pedestal as Wulfy does, because Freddeh only has one crystal, or pedestal, pendant, gotten. He doesn't have Eastern Palace done. However, it does look like he is going to get it, as we saw the two items were a heart piece and the shovel.
Wulfy's going to be getting his Master Sword here in a second.
Do you remember where they got the bottle?
The bottle was in Skull Woods, according to DJ Tifa Hart. Wulfy's buying a potion in Kakariko, interestingly.
Very interesting. Since he just activated the flute, you'd think he'd head up to the witch.
You know, that might be him getting Spike Cave in mind.
It might be.
Looks like Wulfy is going directly to Sahasrara, but I'm wondering if him being in this area means he's going to want to do Palace of Darkness next. Whereas Freddeh is now going to be doing the East Death Mountain with 7 chests on this side of the mountain in the Light World alone, or 8 chests actually. There's a pretty good chance there's something here.
Sahasrara just being a very rich and generous person this seed. However, Wulfy is going to flute to Palace of Darkness, which I don't blame him for making the play. It's a crystal. He can fully complete the dungeon.
Yeah, so if Freddeh ever gets his bow, he's gonna get some time back on Wulfy through Palace of Darkness, depending on whether or not he goes there in go mode or not, because the mirror does cut a lot of time. Makes Palace of Darkness very quick, relatively speaking.
Especially if he has to check the pedestal, he can just mirror from Pod into Eastern, kill the Armos Knights, get the pendant, check Sahasrara with the green pendant.
Yeah, I'm still hoping for that blind pedestal pull.
So am I. And although these runners are only theoretically 2 items away from go mode, it could still be a few more if we need to do fetch quests, or if the boots are required for the desert or Ganon's tower, or of course if we need the book to get the Titans mitts.
Yeah, it is a bit weird. We're already about 45 minutes in and no sign of the Titans mitts. It's often a pretty early item, typically as a way to get into the Dark World or as a way to get into, say, Ice Palace.
Yeah, the Titans mitts are definitely a crucial item that every runner hopes to find as fast as they possibly can. Looks like Freddeh, with his mirror in hand, is going to check some of those mirror spots now. The Grove Ledge and the Grave Ledge is also accessible. And that is also another point. Freddeh can enter Swamp Palace. He doesn't have the hookshot, so he can't complete it. However, if the hookshot is, say, a vanilla hookshot, that would be pretty trolly for our runners.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be entering Swamp Palace just yet. If I were Freddeh, I would still want to hit up Escape. He does have to do that at some point if he wants to win this race. And the shovel is just a bit of a red herring.
Although with all these items that Freddeh has, he does have that mirror over Wulfy. However, he's checking a lot of just one single item locations that are kind of out of the way. So this could give him quite a lot of time loss if they don't pay off.
Yeah, but Wolfie's probably going to end up being in the same boat unless there's something really good in Palace of Darkness.
It makes me wonder if they're going to check Agnes Cave in the desert. We saw Wulfy, he fluted there, but he didn't actually head off and check to see what Agna was holding.
Yeah, I don't really agree with that, but I'm sure he had his reasons.
Agna is definitely one of the more overlooked and trollier locations, because a lot of runners do check Ice Rod Cave when they're over checking Moldorm Cave, but Sahasrarla, or Agna in the desert, is completely on the opposite end of the map with nothing near it. So unless the runners find early gloves and go to the rock to grind some money for Zora, it's often a spot that is not checked for a long time. And if it has something like the book, that could definitely be quite nasty for our runners.
Yeah, most runners will typically avoid that spot until it's basically compulsory, or if they're in the area right after clearing desert, or going to desert, or mire. Oh, Freddeh is finally picking up his bow, which means he can enter Palace of Darkness. I assume that's probably what he'll be doing pretty much right now, and he'll have, again, that advantage in having the mirror through Palace of Darkness.
Although, you have to be thinking of psychologically, he's probably thinking, this is such an early item location and I didn't check it. Did Wulfy check it? And am I far behind?
It is true, and we are getting the hammer yump from on Wulfy's side.
Very excellently done.
That's a strat I personally have never been able to pull off. And if you have a mirror in this dungeon, it's typically not super useful.
We haven't seen many progression items so far in Pod, or really anything of use. If this trend keeps up, there won't be many locations left for our runners to check between the two of them. I believe just the Graveyard Ledge, Swamp Palace, and Agna will be the only locations left.
That is true. And also the pedestal.
Yeah, and of course Hype Pedestal.
So yeah, it's starting to look a bit more like a pedestal seat.
Fat Fairy 2, as the our tracker points out.
Oh, that's going to be a bit of a pain, especially considering they weren't able to do, or didn't have to do Aghanim, so they have to take the long route. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if either of these runners decide to check Fat Fairy.
So, of the remaining item locations, where do you think the next progression item is going to be?
I'm going to put my money on Fat Fairy.
I'm going to be betting on the book, or yeah, let's say the book in Agnes Cave.
That would be pretty mean to these runners at this point. Although I guess it's a better location than Pedestal. Considering Wulfy doesn't have the mirror yet, he really doesn't have any reason to visit the mountain yet. But again, he's kind of running low on places to check as well.
Yeah, I have to imagine in Wolfie's shoes, without the mirror, that restricts his options considerably to just Agna or the mountain.
Wolfie's using lag-reducing strats on Helmasaur, not holding the sword out for an easier time. And getting a pretty quick kill, especially with those silver arrows.
A very excellent Helmasaur fight indeed, as we see him drop the Titan's Mitts.
Okay, never mind. That's all out the window. We're going to I don't know, Turtle Rock next.
Yeah, those Titan Mitts open up a lot of locations. Turtle Rock, Ice Palace, Misery Mire. It's an item like that definitely will cause the runners to split their paths up. Because right now, we haven't been seeing that much of route divergence. We've seen Freddeh go up to Death Mountain and the like, but...
Uh-oh. Where's Wulfy going? Is he going to... No, we can't go to Swamp.
He's doing the Fat Fairy, I think.
Ah, okay. Little does he know, he has quite a bit of progression if you were to get that mirror in Spike Cave. I pretty much see Freddeh either going to Misery Mire or Turtle Rock at this point. They have everything they need to complete it. Actually, no, Freddeh still needs his red cane from Uncle. So yeah, Freddeh might be on a bit of a wild goose chase.
Freddeh might go to the Ice Palace next.
Ice Palace without Hookshot is a little scary if you don't get a key early on.
That is true, however. But they, and with only the Master Sword, it won't be an easy Cold Stare fight either.
Vanitas is bringing up a good point. Not having the mirror might turn out to be a bit of a benefit in Wulfy's case, because he might not end up checking a lot of the overworld locations that require the mirror, which ended up not panning out for Freddeh.
And having those Titan's Mitts will make it, when he does go to Death Mountain, make it a lot faster, since he'll be able to clear all of that out in just a single trip. If he gets the mirror from Spike Cave, he can check all of East Death Mountain, Hera, Dark Death Mountain, and even Turtle Rock in all one trip, which will be a considerable time save over Freddie's having to make multiple trips.
Yeah, except for not having the Hookshot for Hookshot Cave, but at this point, my money is on Hookshot in Turtle Rock. And there's nothing good at Fat Fairy except for some extra defense for Wulfy. But I'm wondering if Freddeh is going to bother checking that soon enough.
Extra defense is never a bad thing, especially if they have to do a Master Sword Ganon fight.
Yeah, the jump from blue mail to red mail is a bit misleading. It's often not even an upgrade at all for various enemy attacks, but for Ganon, I believe it reduces some attacks from, 3 hearts to 2?
Yes, that's correct. Also reduces the dreaded Ganon hug to only 4 hearts.
So it looks like Wulfy's starting to run a bit low on locations. I'm wondering where he's going to visit next. Probably Misery Mire.
He might, although without the mirror, he won't be able to mirror into the desert or check Checkerboard Cave. Now it looks like he's heading for Ice Palace.
No, the logic states you need Hookshot to finish Ice Palace. If you find an early key, you don't need Hookshot at all. And if you can do a particular bomb jump, even if you don't get a key early on, you can finish Ice Palace pretty easily. But Ice Palace is also a really long full clear compared to certain other dungeons. Mire can be pretty long depending on where the key is. But
Although, with the Cane of Samaria, though, yeah, as Vanadis is pointing out, that hookshot isn't part of the logic, because they don't need to, according to the logic, loop around and push the block down the hole. They can just put the Samaria on it.
Oh, that is true. Using bomb strats against these penguins.
I've never actually seen that strat before. It's very interesting.
I was very surprised when I first saw the bomb strats on those guys. Usually in one of the other rooms where there's a line of them chasing after you. I was surprised to learn that they died in one hit to bombs.
Yeah, it's very useful to be able to one-shot the penguins, whether it be from a tempered or butter sword spin, or hookshot one-shots them also. But unfortunately with none of those, it'll be a bit more of a complicated strategy.
So Freddeh, remembering that he had the green pendant, but only getting a lot of money for it.
He's not checking the Armos Knights, which we know don't really have much of anything of use. However, it is a pendant, and we could still see a hookshot at the pedestal. So that pendant advantage that Wulfy has could come into play.
Yep, Wulfy is doing a pretty textbook bomb jump here. Getting it with no problem whatsoever.
Although, it's impressive that he did it with a non-standard Link sprite.
Yeah, often it's just the shadow, I think, that runners look at. At least it is for me. And the shadow never changes, thankfully.
Yes, that is true. We see Freddeh picked up the mushroom in the Mire shed. Might be interesting if he decides to do the powderless magic bat.
I still have yet to see the powderless magic bat in a race. I haven't even tried it myself. Do you just need a mushroom and the cane, I think?
Yes, the mushroom and the Cane of Samaria. How it works is you deplete all your magic, and then you use the Cane of Samaria, and then as the sound plays, the buzzer for not having enough magic plays, you pause and you switch to the mushroom and spam the mushroom use as you unpause, and when you unpause, it'll become magic powder.
It becomes magic powder, or it just uses magic powder once?
It uses magic powder once.
Oh, okay. Interesting. We'll have to remember that for future races.
The odds of it paying off are extremely slim. However, if we had something convoluted like the magic powder on the pedestal, and the magic bat having, say, the hookshot, then if one runner does it and the other runner doesn't, that would be a huge advantage for the runner that does do it.
So Freddie's deciding to do desert before Mire, which I don't think is a bad idea. And it also looks like he stole a key from the end of the end part of desert, but he also was able to get the key in the first chest in desert. So at this point, it looks like he can finish it. And he does get a tempered sword for his trouble.
I don't blame that routing decision at all. He's still looking for the Cane of Samaria to do Mire.
Little does he know where it is. I really hope he didn't forget about it, and he's just playing the seed, going where it's leading him.
Yeah, it's a bit worrisome that he hasn't gotten it. It's a very easy and quick item to check, very in the way, and it's a very important item, so it could definitely be his undoing if he takes a long time to go get it.
Yeah, many a race was decided by one player missing something fairly early on and scouring the entire game trying to find it.
Another item that we found in the desert was the magic cape on the torch. Now, our runners don't have the boots, so they can't get that. However, if the Bumper Cave, which hasn't been checked by either runner, I believe, if Bumper Cave has something, they could need the boots. And Kefka, in the chat, the cane was at the uncle, the cane of Samaria.
Yeah. Freddeh decided to do the backside of Escape, and even went so far as going to the dark room backwards. But he never did the front side of Escape, and he never visited the uncle. Whereas Wulfy, I believe, started the game and immediately went for uncle route. So it looks like unless Cold Stare has something, it doesn't seem like Ice was a big payoff.
Freddeh checking Checkerboard Cave, using that mirror to good use.
Wulfy switching to Hammer on Cold Stare, which is a little scary in my personal experience, but it does do twice the damage of Fighter's or Master Sword, so it makes it a lot faster if you can hit.
Freddeh checking the legendary Agna Cave. We'll see if he does indeed have the book like I've predicted.
Yeah, it would be very interesting if the book was here.
If our runners do in fact, no, not the book, but the book is another item that could give Freddeh a bit of an advantage, because Freddeh will be able to check both tablets, Ether and Balmos, but of course Wulfy, not having the mirror, not being up to Death Mountain, won't be able to check either of those.
Yeah, I'm assuming Wulfy's now going to Misery Mire. So he's going to be doing Misery Mire. Oh, nope, he's going to the mountain first, which is a good idea, because he definitely needs that mirror. And he does have that red potion, which means he'll be able to very easily get through Spike Cave.
As we see Freddeh turning in the mushroom, but not getting anything of use. Just another $20. Wulfy's got to be wondering, where's my next progression item? Because he is running out of items. He does have the Titan's Mitts, which gives him access to a lot, but the mirror and the hookshot are two other really big items, especially for Death Mountain, of course.
At this point, I'm a bit surprised that Wulfy decided to go to the mountain instead of visiting Mire, because that's, what, 4 items? Just waiting to be grabbed. Up here, there's only 2 he can get, and knowledge of a 3rd. Oh, yeah, and Spike Cave, so 3 items, and knowledge of a 4th.
It is interesting how he made that gamble. However, he might be hoping that he'll be able to combo Mire with the desert once he gets the mirror. Although, I don't know why he'd gamble that as opposed to just... gamble Death Mountain that having the mirror as opposed to Mire having the mirror, but... either way, he's made the right gamble if he decides to check Spike Cave.
At this point, it would be a shame if he didn't. And looks like Freddeh is also going to be probably full clearing Ice, which has been pretty much a disappointment this seed. So he's in for a pretty big time sink, whereas Wulfy now has free reign to do whatever he wants to this seed.
Yeah, and with Wulfy about to get his mirror, and he'll be able to do all of the rest of Death Mountain, East Death Mountain, Dark Death Mountain, Turtle Rock, Hera, check the pedestal. That'll definitely give him a lot bigger time advantage over Freddeh.
People pointing out in chat, can't actually go to Misery Mire itself. Mire Shed is still open, but You do need either the hookshot or boots to get into Misery Mire, a fact that I seem to forget because it's pretty rare to get to Misery Mire area without having either of those items.
Yeah, I've forgotten that too. That's, yeah, why Freddeh didn't go that route either, ignoring the fact that he doesn't have the red cane. Now we see Wulfy checking the mire area now that he has the mirror and all the desert stuff, without doing the rest of Death Mountain. An interesting play.
Yeah,
You might
Amazing Ampharos is also pointing out it's weird that he's not going to Turtle Rock, and I agree. Having everything at this point to do Turtle Rock, and even having the mirror for Mimic Cave seems like kind of a no-brainer when you're up in that area. Plus, there's also East Death Mountain, which he decided not to check.
Although I can see his logic. He had to mirror out of Spike Cave, and so he was already going to be at the start of the mountain, so he might as well just head off to the desert, which he can fully clear, and hope for the hookshot so that he won't have to backtrack for Hookshot Cave.
Getting all the medallions early is kind of a troll in some cases, and I think this might be one of them. If they didn't get all the medallions, I think it would have prioritized checking East Death Mountain, just for the knowledge of what medallions you need. But when you have them all, it doesn't matter. You can just use the medallion you need.
Yeah, that and medallions can't be used as breadcrumbs anymore either, because they get an item, and if it's a medallion, they're like, oh, I can now enter this dungeon, so it might be the next item location I need to go for progression in the logic. However, if you get them all early, it's like, oh yeah, I have this medallion to enter, but I've had it for 30 minutes. It's not a breadcrumb to follow.
People pointing out in chat, we should probably hope that somebody finds boots soon, because if Wulfy finds Hookshot, he could be in go mode, but it's also very possible to have the big key in Ganon's Tower on that lamp right at the start.
And wouldn't it be trolly if we had the book up in the top of Death Mountain near the validation chest, and the boots were on the pedestal? The boots on the pedestal.
Yeah, that's true. At this point, Wulfy could pull the pedestal if he really wanted to. You would just need to clear Tower of Hera. Since I forget which version, 24 maybe or 25, you don't actually need the book available to you for it to be a pedestal seed. You just need to be able to get to the pedestal.
Yeah, leading to those blind pedestal pulls in which you're gambling. I hope it is a pedestal pull, because then I won't have wasted all my time, but at the same time you're hoping it's not, because that's just mean.
Yeah. Freddeh getting a good bomb jump here so he could check the big chest. Shame there's not going to be anything in it. Yeah, book on pedestal would be the biggest troll, because that opens up a few more locations for you to check. And then those could have nothing, just like in... I forget which race it was, but it was a race last night. Wulfy decides to gulp down his red potion for some reason, and he's also checking Aghanim. He's going to be kind of disappointed and kind of relieved to see the big 20 in that chest. With the Tempered Sword, Freddie's not having any trouble with Ice Rod, or Ice Palace, Cold Stare. Whereas Wulfy had to switch to Hammer, giving Freddeh a few a few seconds of advantage. Surprisingly, Wulfy's stocking up on potions. I don't know if that's more for the magic or for the health at this point. Given that he's actually a talented runner of like NMG, I would assume it's probably for the magic. And he's probably heading towards Turtle Rock at this point. But sadly, without the hookshot, kind of taking the long way, going past Tower of Hera. But I'm wondering if he's going to even enter Tower of Hera at this point. We do know Hera has the cape. We don't know if it's required yet. Or no, sorry. Desert Palace has the cape. I don't believe Hera has anything at this point except for the shovel, which leads to nothing. Wulfy is opting to go inside Hera. I still want to see this blind pedestal pole. And he will have to do the Hera basement, just like Freddeh did earlier on in the seed, while Freddeh is checking the Fat Fairy, and he's going to be getting his red mail. Well, Wulfy opts to not bother with Hera. Okay. And so we're probably not getting that blind pedestal pole, at least not anytime soon. I don't disagree with that play, but as a viewer, I would have liked to see the pedestal pole, if only for the memes. Freddeh finally checking Uncle and getting his red cane. Is probably not feeling very good about that at this point. So at this point, in terms of items, they're more or less tied up. The only real difference is that Freddeh used his shovel. But I don't believe there's anything else useful in Escape, so Freddeh is at this point just wasting his time. He doesn't know that, of course. Wulfy realizing he went the wrong way without the hookshot, because you can't actually complete this room that way without the hookshot. The torches start to burn out by the time you loop around to the other side. It always feels weird to enter Turtle Rock and having to do those intended strats. And I see a lot of really good players get tripped up on it. Powder in Turtle Rock is really worrisome.
Yeah, with that powder, it makes me wonder if the magic bat has the hookshot, in which if one of our runners did do the powderless, then they could have done Turtle Rock in go mode after they'd done everything else and gone straight to Ganon's tower, so a pity that we didn't see that.
On the plus side, Wulfy already passed the point where hookshot would be useful in this dungeon. Or at least mostly useful. So the full clear of Turtle Rock isn't terribly slow compared to a normal clear. So even if powder led to hookshot, and that would have been go mode, he's not really wasting any time continuing to do Turtle Rock at this point, or at least continuing to do non-go mode style Turtle Rock.
Yeah, the only time loss would have been from having to backtrack back up Death Mountain. But aside from that, there are still a lot of places for the hookshot to be. We could see it at the pedestal, we could see it behind a book spot, we could even see it in Misery Mire if our players find the boots. We can even see it in Swamp, a lot of places. And of course here in Turtle Rock.
Yeah, for the maximum troll factor, I would like to see boots leading to hookshot. Or I don't know. I think I might want to see boots in Ganon's Tower, but required for Ganon's Tower.
I think the trolliest thing would probably be if you had something like hookshot in the first chest in Hookshot Cave.
That would be pretty trolly, especially if boots were somewhere outside of Turtle Rock.
Boots on the pedestal, boots behind the book.
Because it's very easy to forget that once you have boots, that location is accessible to you. A lot of players think, oh, there's Bonkrox, oh, there's, Dashgrave, but the logic does say that you can get to that one chest in Hookshot Cave, which I personally don't agree with. I don't think that the game designers intended you to be able to do that, but I'm not a developer on this, so my say doesn't matter.
Yeah, and even a more trollier case would be if that was the book. Then you would have to go up to Hookshot Cave, then backtrack down to, say, Balmo's tablet, and then backtrack all the way back up. But of course, hopefully that won't be the case for either of our runners.
Yeah, if Turtle Rock contained Go mode, then Freddie's really only a few minutes behind. In terms of crystals, yeah, they're similar. They're both in the same dungeon. The only problem is that execution-wise, I believe Wulfy is a bit stronger of an NMG style player.
Yeah, and I believe Wulfy will have a slight advantage if pedestal is in fact required. Hera versus Eastern isn't that much of a difference, but the fact that Wulfy is right next to Hera, whereas Freddeh will have to go out of his way to go kill the Armos Knights, will just make that slightly faster for Wulfy.
That is true. I think we would have seen a much different race if Freddeh had decided to do Uncle earlier on. Because I believe he would have had access to Turtle Rock right when he got Mir, and I think he probably would have taken that quote-unquote gamble at that point.
He wouldn't have had the Titans emits at that point, so no, he wouldn't.
Wait, where were Mitts? I forget.
Mitts were from Helmasaur.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he did not have the bow early enough on.
Wulfy taking a safety potion, never a bad idea. Wonder if he'll take the safety, no, he's not taking the safety respawn cave. Bit risky, but these are very good runners. And Master Sword, Trinex probably doesn't scare them all too much.
Yeah, I mean he has Tempered Sword at this point, at least according to the tracker. So Tempered Sword, Red Mail, no problem there.
Oh, that's right, yeah. They got a third sword upgrade in the desert. So yeah, Tempered, it'll be a very easy fight. And even if they did have the Master Sword, Hammer Strats make it a lot easier.
So after this, where else can we go? There's Dark Death Mountain, and there is Swamp. Right? I think that's it.
I believe Wolfie checked all of Dark Death Mountain that he could, so I believe our only options are Swamp and Pedestal. And I believe the Graveyard Ledge. I'm not sure if that's been checked.
Yeah, I don't believe... You were saying earlier you don't think anybody checked Bumper Cave.
No.
So that and Graveyard Ledge could also lead to something really good.
X Ice Blue. We've seen Fat Fairy, and that's where our runners got the red mail.
That is true. Magic Bat is also open.
Magic Bat is another location. We know that the cape is on the Desert Torch, but I'm not sure if the hookshot is a part of the logic for the bumper ledge item. Since technically you don't need the hookshot, however, I'm not sure if it's part of the logic to be able to do it without the hookshot.
So Dark Death Mountain, Wolfie checking those 2 chests he has access to and not really getting anything out of it. Considering he's not quitting out, I assume he's going to be going towards Tower of Hera next.
Chat confirming that the hookshot is not part of the logic for Bumper Cave, so if they get the boots, a Northern Graveyard check might not be out of the question.
Oh, he didn't actually check any of Eastern Death Mountain except for Turtle Rock, so this is actually some time Freddie's going to get back, and he's getting pretty near the end of Turtle Rock himself, so it might actually be, the race might actually be closer than we think.
Yeah, they have very similar locations checked. Freddie has a few more mirror spots checked, but Wolfie has a few other spots checked.
And entering Swamp Palace without hookshot is always a real pain. Not only can't you finish it, but you also get the double whammy of having to visit both sides of Left Swamp, like individually, instead of being able to just hookshot across the gap like normal.
Yeah, that, and if it doesn't pay off, you're going to have to do all the dam draining and do all that stuff a second time, and that, it takes a good minute or so even to enter Swamp, so...
Amazing Ampharos is hoping for something kind of trolly, but I still think the blind pedestal pull for Master Boots would be the ultimate troll.
Oh yeah, boots at pedestal, and then, yeah, get the cape from the desert, and then get the hookshot from Bumper Cave. That'd be an amazing sequence of events. Or the book from Bumper Cave.
I'm not really sure what Freddie's doing. He's doing like low percent strats on this eye bridge when he has enough magic to just use the cane, at least for some of them.
Yeah, the eye laser bridge can definitely deal a lot of damage if you're not careful.
Now, finding the powder earlier on was good, because now he can just get back up to full HP pretty easily, or close to full. It looks like he's going to go all the way there.
I imagine if he didn't, he would have taken the safety cave at the bottom of Eye Laser Bridge. Here we see Wolfie. He's going to check the northern graveyard stuff, I imagine. Graveyard Ledge, Bumper Cave.
That is true. Or maybe not. What is he doing?
Oh, the Smith! We forgot
completely
about the Smith and the Hammer Pegs.
Yeah, he's going to do that, and the Magic Bat, and probably the Purple Chest. So yeah, there are more places on available to us, but I'm still pulling for that blind pedestal pull for Magic or Master Boots. It's kind of rare to see the Dwarf Smith this late in the game. Though, considering the new logic for V26, it's not at all surprising to see something like this. Ooh, half magic.
Half magic's always nice, although they're probably wishing they'd gotten that a little bit earlier.
Yeah, it would have been nice for Mothula or Trinex, but it's definitely helpful in Ganon's tower.
Yeah, you can just go crazy with that fire rod and the gauntlet, kill almost everything.
Let's see what kind of smiths these guys are. Just rupee smiths, forging their fake rupees.
Magic bat check on Wulfy's side. Let's see if it has anything of use. The hook shot!
So that is
Go mode.
potentially go mode. I don't want to call it just yet because I'm still hoping for boots required in Ganon's tower.
But just imagine if one of them had done that early at powderless bat check with the mushroom. That would have been a huge advantage had either one of them done it, not the other.
Yeah, well, I mean, hindsight obviously is 2020, but I do agree it would have been a lot of saved time to not have to full clear Turtle Rock, or really a lot of these dungeons. If either of them had found Hookshot like 20-30 minutes ago, that would have made this seed a lot faster.
You see Freddeh going for getting that last pendant from the Armos Knight. Is he thinking of doing the blind pedestal pull?
Dude, Master Boots on the pedestal would be amazing, especially if they're required.
A pedestal seed is still possible, yes, Freddeh. If the boots are on the pedestal and the Ganon's big key is on the torch, boots are in fact required. Or some combination of items leading up to that, such as the boots, or the book, etc. At this point, I would say that Wulfy does have a bit of a lead over Freddeh.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, he's going to be finishing Misery Mire pretty soon, while Freddeh is still in Eastern Palace, a pendant dungeon that we don't even know if is necessary.
Yeah, and with all these other locations that he could still check for the hookshot, it could definitely take him a while. Although, again, if we do have the legendary pedestal boots and Ganon big key required, it could definitely catapult Freddeh back into this, because Wulfy will be searching all over the world for those boots.
Definitely. I think that's pretty much the only way Freddie's going to win this at this point. If he had the hook shot, maybe there would be a chance, but I think Wulfy is too competent technical player to mess up, say, on Ganon or anywhere leading up to him. And we are seeing this blind pedestal pull, so let's get hype in the chat.
This could be big. S. Anon. The cane was at the uncle.
Sadly, we've already seen the single arrow, so it can't be that hype.
A book or boots would be amazing.
A book. Oh, and it's
Aw.
10 arrows.
It is a pity, but it was always a long shot.
Yeah, and he's taking some frustration swipes at the pedestal for giving him a sewing kit.
Unfortunately, at this point, Wolfie does have a considerable lead.
Yeah,
It does look like...
Sorry.
That's okay. It does look like Freddeh is going to be heading in the direction of the hookshot, doing the smiths and checking hammer pegs, bat cave, etc. But Wolfie at this point has several minutes lead, and with both these runners being extremely skilled and technical players, it'll be very difficult for Wolfie to lose that lead.
It is a shame. As a viewer, it's always best to hope for closer matches, but it really does look like Wolfie's running away with it at this point.
Of course, that still doesn't mean that we can't have boots somewhere absurd and boots required for the big key on the torch. Just because they weren't at the pedestal doesn't mean that they won't be required.
I'm still hoping for, let's see, hookshot cave boots, maybe.
That would be fun. I'm hoping for them to be at the book spot. Zet237's Sahasrara just had 300 rupees. Unfortunately, nothing vital this time.
Well, at this point, Vanitas boots could be anywhere in Swamp, considering they do have access to that hookshot.
Yeah, boots could be swamp. I'm not sure if you saw both items in Mire. They could be a hookshot cave. They can't be at the legendary pedestal, but they could still be at the purple chest. Or, of course, if we get a book, we could check the tablets.
Oh, that is true. I think Wolfie opted to not bother delivering the purple chest.
Yes, he didn't, and I imagine Freddeh won't either.
Huh.
Well, he did save and quit, so he technically will still have the purple chest. Looks like he might be going to deliver it.
Nope, leaving the chest in Link's house.
He's gonna loot that one later.
It's like he's just gonna clear out Swamp very quickly. Ice Blue is pretty evil. Book in Tile Room and Boots at Bombos would be quite the troll. But it's a really slim chance that that big key is on that lamp. And I hope Wolfie is going to check that lamp right away.
How many items in G Tower? 23? 24? It's about a 5% chance? 4%?
Yeah, thereabouts. About as likely as a pedestal seed. I don't know if Wolfie thinks he's behind. He didn't really miss anything huge.
Yeah, Wolfie probably is thinking he's got... at least gonna get a solid time. That mirror in Spike Cave might off-put him slightly, but Spike Cave being such an underchecked location, I wouldn't imagine that he'll be stressing much over it.
Wolfie's getting bullied by these Baronades, sadly.
I believe their yeah, I believe their official name is called a Muri. We totally need a tracker to count how many times you get electrocuted.
Wulfy isn't even going for the 2 easy chests in Swamp Palace. Even if you're in go mode, I think checking those 2 chests, if you're still missing something useful, like, say, a sword upgrade, silver arrows, or boots, which, again, we don't know if they need or not. And even if they don't need it, they would still make the seed a lot faster. I think checking those 2 chests, along with that 1 chest in the waterfall room, I think those are all pretty big no-brainers.
It might be evidence of him thinking he's behind, or that the race is really close. He's just gambling that he is in go mode and that he doesn't need anything else, and that he's just gonna book it without the book.
Proto-Chowd, we don't know. They could need the boot still in Ganon's Tower. That's the only other item.
However, it is a very, very slim chance. Yeah, Freddie's about a whole dungeon behind, having yet to do Misery Mire, and a bit behind on the Swamp Palace finish. So it will take quite the miracle for him to catch up. Yes, sure, Kath, there are glitches that are not allowed. We do not allow any major glitches, so stuff like YBAs or, of course, exploration glitch. Any major glitch by definition is not allowed. However, minor glitches such as Super Bunny and mirror block deleting, stuff like that, are allowed.
Yeah, and fake flippers too, which is, since V26, a lot more prevalent.
However, even though they are allowed, that they are not by logic required. So if anyone does a minor glitch that, such as fake flippering without the flippers, and it pays off, that is a sequence break, as the game will not force you to do any minor glitches.
So I already see some numbers in chat. We're about to enter Ganon's Tower, and there's a tradition in this Link to the Past randomizer tournament where you should try to guess how many chests it takes, well, chests and the other items it takes to get the big key. The big key is pretty much what everybody's looking for when entering Ganon's Tower, because that and 1 small key will get you to the end.
Well, I'm gonna take a gamble and say torch, simply because it'll make the seed all that more interesting.
I want to say same, but you already took it, so I'll say 8. It's always 8 for me. Got a lot of torch hype in here. Wulfy isn't even concerned about the torch right now. He's just gonna go right side. I don't know if this is the old standard route, or if he finds a key, he's gonna go towards the right side.
I mean, if I were in his shoes, I wouldn't be concerned about the pedestal, or no, the big key on the torch either, because again, it's 1 out of like 22 or 21 locations. It's very, very unlikely to happen.
Ah, unfortunately, it wasn't the torch. So Wulfy is officially no longer in Schrodinger's go mode. The cat is alive, and he can get to Ganon.
Or is it the bunny is alive in his case?
That is true. Schrodinger's Super Bunny. This is a route I actually don't see that often anymore. Oftentimes people will do right side if they get the key, which I typically go towards the Dark Magician route, which is the first 5 items on the left side, and then immediately go back to the right side and go all the way to Ice Armos if necessary. But I do like the fact that a lot of people have different routes through Ganon's Tower. It can make races interesting. It can make or break races, honestly. My first tournament race, I came very close to losing, specifically because of my routing.
Yeah, it's all about how you feel the statistics are. Statistically speaking, the left side does have the highest concentration of items, with the Stalfos room and the Firebar room, and this room and Rando room. However, it really is very luck dependent.
Unfortunately, my prediction is rip already, considering we're way past 8 items now.
Looks like it's not at all on the left side. Right side, Bob, Tile Room, Armos Knights. Any of those are the possibility at this point.
Yeah, and this teleporter maze kind of highlights why I like the Dark Magician route. All these teleports, and he's going to have to even do this final teleporting back because he doesn't have the boots to bonk over the pad.
He doesn't have the boots to bonk over this gap either. He's
That
going to
is
have
true,
to.
which guess he's gonna try a bomb jump. It is a really short gap. If you like
Yeah.
the torches, I used to think it was a lot tighter than it was, but it's really just like a 1 tile gap.
Yeah, it's the smallest you could ever be. It's about the width of one chest.
And silver arrows are gonna make easy work of this Armos refight.
Speaking of silver arrows, Freddeh making quick work of Vitreos with the silver arrows, getting his final crystal.
Yeah, but at this rate, he's gotta hope that his right side big key, which it isn't. Wulfy is now in go mode again, able to go upstairs, and he has 2 keys. He doesn't even have to kill the Helmasaur near Moldorm.
Looking at their rupee counts, this is a very money-generous seed. They both have well over 1,500 rupees.
That is a lot. This is strange. I think when they added the waterfall fairy, they added a 300 rupee back into the pool. But they probably got them all at this point. And this was a very generous seed because the bush crab prize was the big 20. So yeah, rupees were definitely not in short supply this seed.
Wulfy getting it through the gauntlet, using the silver arrows to make short work of everything.
Still getting bullied a bit by the Beamos in that room.
Yeah, despite how much you may practice the gauntlet, it's still never fun, especially the 2 rooms with ice physics.
Also, especially when you don't have boots.
Yeah, it makes the ice physics even more troublesome, especially with how much they slow you down. Makes it hard to dodge certain things.
Wulfy's getting the runaround by that horsehead guy. Not bothering to powder the bunny beam, probably so he could get the hopeful 1 cycle on this Land Mode 2 fight, which he didn't actually get. The two-side goes still pretty fast.
I believe he might have a potion, which he picked up in this dungeon, so he might be thinking of that and not worrying about safeties also. No, it looks like the bottle was empty on Freddie's side.
I think I saw him use the potion at one point, I just don't remember where. It might have been in Turtle Rock.
We see Freddie going for the right side gamble. Is he going to do Tile Room? No, he's not. So if he continues down to Ice Armos, that will be a much faster big key than Wulfy had.
Wulfy getting trolled a bit by this Wizrobe. Always stings a lot when you mess up that room. Even if it's like only like 3 seconds. It's just such a cool strat to pull off right away.
Wulfy going with the Fire Rod strats on that torch room. I always find it interesting if people do a Fire Rod or a Lamp strat there.
With half magic, he's definitely has more than enough to do both that room and the room he just completed. And not even bothering to check any of those chests, there's really nothing that's going to help him at that point. Even if bombs were in those chests, I don't think it would have been useful.
You see, Freddie found the another shield upgrade on the right side of G Tower, and he is in fact going for the Armos Knights. So he will make up a little bit of ground, but it's very unlikely that it's going to be enough. As Wulfy finishes up Trolldorm 2, is he going to validate his run?
Oh, he does, and it's the map.
Validation map.
He knows how to get through Ganon's Tower, so that's good, right? I'm getting trolled a bit by the conveyor belts and ice in that room. That room without boots is quite a bit more difficult.
Definitely. Now, Aga 2. Let's see how he plays along. An excellent pattern, getting either a double or a triple, depends on how close the shots were. But Aga starts throwing the blue balls right away.
Yeah, I believe 2 of them spawned on top of each other and at the same time, which would have definitely kept him from getting a double.
Yeah.
But that was what, a 3 or 4 phase? Pretty fast.
4 phase. I believe he got 2-1, 2-1.
So Wulfy's going to be heading into Ganon here, and he's kind of decked out. I don't see really any way this is going to go bad for him. Unless he falls, and even without boots, I don't think you're going to fall. Although I don't often see people using boots that often in this fight.
Yeah, and I think even if he did fall, it wouldn't be enough for Freddie to catch up, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's just now getting upstairs. So he's probably at least, like, what, 5 minutes behind?
Yeah, about 5 minutes. Probably solely due to the fact that he didn't check Ice Rod Cave and get that bow.
I don't know. I think he lost some amount of time from not getting bow early on, but I don't think it blocked him from anything, especially considering that Palace of Darkness was kind of a wash, at least until Helmasaur.
Wulfy making quick work of Ganon. And Wulfy finishing with an official SRL race time of 1 hour, 49 minutes and 23 seconds.
Yep, GG to Wulfy, and Freddeh is now making his way through Gauntlet, so he's pretty much near the end of it. So the worst part of Ganon's tower is more or less behind him. It's a good thing that both of these runners will most likely be getting a sub 2, even on a moderately trolly seed. I think the troll factor goes up a little bit when you can never find boots.
We'll see if we can get Wolf in for an interview.
Freddie's now onto the wizrobe floor. So not that long now, just some wizrobes, some fire rod usage, and troll dorm for Aga 2. falling to the red guards here. They can be pretty trolly. Typically, if you have boots, you can just dash right past them, even though sometimes they'll still hit you, but they can be a hindrance if you don't have that that mobility. I wonder. I think Freddie should check these chests now that he's behind, but I guess he isn't.
I mean, there isn't really much he'd be able to accomplish unless one of them, by any chance, had the butter sword.
Yeah, butter sword would be nice, but I'm just curious to where boots are at this point.
I'd guess the boots are at purple chest. Okay, looks like we will be getting Wolfie in for an interview.
Hello, Wolfie.
Hey, GG
Hello.
on winning.
Yeah, thank you.
So, I guess my first question, what were you thinking when you finally got around to checking Spike Cave? Were you thinking that you were behind?
I was thinking I didn't delay it that long, so I probably had the mirror first.
Oh, I believe your opponent had the mirror for maybe even like half an hour.
Yeah,
Well, that's interesting. I didn't see a real reason to go there any sooner.
yeah, Freddie had gambled Death Mountain when he didn't have the boat because he put off Ice Rod Cave for a while, so he didn't go to Palace of Darkness nearly as fast as you did.
Yeah, I figured he might miss the bow early on.
Yeah, he missed both the bow and the red cane. He didn't check Uncle until very late in the seed. Thankfully for him, he didn't forget about it, it seemed. Or if he did, he remembered.
How soon did he find the hook shot?
It took him about 5-ish, 6-ish, 7-ish minutes to get the hookshot. He was getting hookshot as you were entering Swamp Palace, so...
Oh, okay. And did he find the ice rod reasonably quickly?
Oh yeah, I think he got the ice rod.
That and the dark sewers.
Yeah, I think he got the ice rod before you did.
Oh yeah.
What Another minor thing I noticed. Why did you buy the red potion in Kakariko?
I was just nearby, and I had lots of money. Figured why not?
Okay. I was thinking it was for Spike Cave, but then you decided, or you didn't go to Spike Cave for 20-30 minutes at that point.
And then I ended up wasting it and upgrading it to a blue later anyway.
Yeah, I saw that. You bonked off of a cactus and just drank the potion to heal that half a heart.
Yeah.
I think a big point of the seed would be if either one of you had done the new powderless magic bat, you would have gotten the hookshot considerably sooner. So
Yeah, I was thinking that if I was kind of worried that he might have tried to do that glitch and got a big advantage on me for getting the hookshot.
It looks like Freddie's finishing up Ganon now. It looks like he is going to be coming in for an interview soon as well. So you were saying you were thinking your opponent was going to be skipping the bow. Did you feel like that?
I wasn't actually sure about that. I just know a lot of people don't like going out of their way for the Ice Rod Cave.
Yeah, in this case, getting the flippers early also kind of kept... I think getting the flippers early kept Freddie from checking Ice Rod Cave, because you could just jump in the water there and then make your way to Hobo and then Zora.
Yeah, that's right.
But you didn't fall for that trap and actually went and got your bow. Do you think that gave you an advantage outside of having it early? Like, do you think...
Well, the bow didn't unlock a whole lot.
Right.
The item at Armos was something useless, so you could go without it for a while.
yeah. And also, GG to Freddie, and congrats on both of you for running.
Thank you, GG Wolf.
Good game.
I'll have fun watching this one back. Was sure a seed. Friggin' mirror.
So Freddie, about the bow and the red cane.
Yeah, I knew I was taking risks at some point. Funnily, I was going between Ice Rod Cave and then just saying screw it and going to Escape. I was just trying to avoid Escape like the plague.
Okay.
And it didn't really work out, because I could have probably gone to Rock earlier, but I don't know.
Yeah, we were wondering if you forgot about Escape, or if you were just hoping that nothing good was there.
I was gambling on nothing good being there. And then once I saw 5 and 6, I'm like, okay, I'll just do it when I do the big Fat Fairy Bomb.
Same with the Ice Rod Cave. You just had that in the back of your mind the whole time.
Yeah, that was, like I said, didn't have a whole lot left to check at that point. It was like Gina's Cave, Ice Rod Cave, Bowless Pod, I think, or Escape. So I'm like, okay, well, let's do Ice Rod Cave. I have a feeling something's there this seed, because why not? Got the bow, did the pod. I think that's when I got... What was in pod? Mitts?
Titan's Mitts.
Yeah, Mitts. Got Mitts off of Helmasaur, and then... I think that's when I did 6. I don't know.
Another thing I noticed, you decided to go through Skullwoods first, and then you checked a lot of Skullwoods, and then you left, and I believe you went to Thieves Town, and went through the entirety of Thieves Town and got all the items in there.
Yeah, that was on purpose, actually.
Why did you decide to go right back into Skullwoods at that point?
No magic. Short version.
Okay.
There was still... Well, I had magic after Thieves Town, and I had the Fire Rod early, so I figured there's probably another item. And I still hadn't had the second item at that point, because it was, I think, shield off of the long check. So yeah, between it being 5/6 6, having Fire Rod early, needing an item out of there anyway. There's no reason not to go back and do it. I would have done it the first time if I had more magic. Also, always full clear Thieves Town.
Yeah, it definitely paid off this time.
Every time.
I'm sure you're both of you are good at Silverless Cannon at this point.
Yeah,
I think that was the only thing.
Yeah, I guess mirroring out wouldn't have been terrible. Did Wolf, did you find butter at all?
No.
No? Probably
Although, I do have to be...
swamp or something.
Yeah, I have to ask, Wolf, you didn't check the pedestal, and Freddeh, you did do the blind pull pedestal. What were your guys' thought processes on, should I check it, should I not check it, for the hook shot, etc.?
The pedestal really wasn't in my mind at all that race.
I'd say it wasn't mine because it was pretty early. You could do all of the, like, I think just in the first set you could pretty much do all of the dungeons. In the first sphere, whatever, you could do all the pendant dungeons. So it was in the back of my mind, and at that point I had that, and then I had to be in that area anyway to do the blacksmith line and stuff, and I just said screw it, let's go for the hype play and take the risk. And
So
obviously
what was in there?
out. Oh well.
What was in the pedestal?
10 arrows, like it was crap. So bootless. Yeah.
Were you worried? Like, how worried were you about the lamp in Ganon's tower basement? Like, both of you.
I was definitely thinking about it. I'm like, well, it could be on the lamp. I put it off until like, I don't want to look at the lamp. I don't want to know if it's there at this point. I'm just gonna do Ice Armos first. Screw it.
It's always slightly nerve-wracking going into GT without the boots, but usually it works out.
Yeah, well, it's also true that even if it were on the lamp, there's a possibility that it's in Ganon's tower anyway.
Yeah.
So having that knowledge and being in the area, like, there's no reason not to just make a mad dash to Ganon's tower at that point.
Yeah, at that point you check all of GT, you assume your opponent's going to do the same, and then you have, like, at that point I only had Hookshot, Cave, and then the rest of Swamp and the last second item in Mire.
Yeah, and we were seeing some interesting troll possibilities with
well, yeah.
with the key on the lamp and boots in like Bombo's tablet with like the book at the Master Sword pedestal.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there's all that sort of thing that could have happened. Yeah, I watched a race earlier this week that had a freaking pedestal book. That was a thing. I think it was McConn's race, actually. Anyway, yeah. I mean, I took some risks. I knew they were risks. They didn't pay off this time, but Wolf is a good player, so.
Cool. Any other questions you got? All right. Questions for us or each other, or any comments?
I'm glad I checked the Bumper Cave first before I saw the cape sitting on the lamp in Desert Palace, that's for sure. Otherwise, that would have been on my mind half the game. Like, really? Is this sea gonna make me do that? Outside of that, thank you for commentating. Thanks for the race, Wolf.
Thanks to both of you for running also, and thanks to our tracker for tracking.
Yep, shout out to DJ Tifa Hart.
And shoutouts to Speed Gaming 3 for restreaming the race.
And to all the tournament organizers and all the people in the tournament.
Coming up, we have a lot of races later tonight on Speed Gaming 1, 2, and 3 at 7 p.m. At 7 p.m. we have McKinn's versus Tajso on Speed Gaming 2, and actually just started about 13 minutes ago. We had Killer App versus Avanadus on Speed Gaming 1, so be sure to check out those races. And also we've got a large schedule of races on the secondary tournament on Randomizer Mania.
Yeah, so be sure to follow Speed Gaming's 1 through 4 and Randomizer Mania 1 through 4 if you want to see a lot of races.
Yep, there is a lot of rando happening. All the rando.
So, shoutouts to everyone involved, and thanks for everything. All of the people involved in this race.
Yep, I believe it's time to sign off now. So good game, guys, and see you next mission.
GG.